Hi guys, I just read another really good story out of another Good Old Days magazine, and I wanted to read it to you guys. It's called First Grade Surprise, and here's the actual picture of the first grade class. You can see the teacher back here, sitting at the desk. And the girl that wrote the story is that girl right there. That white dress. So there's the first grade class. Alright, so let me begin the story. It's by First Grade Surprise, A Lesson Learned by Melody Cardwell Rebenstorf. I will put her name in the description below. What? I don't know. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. My first day of first grade landed on my 6th birthday, September 1st, 1958. That year also saw the one and only time I ever received a spanking at school. When I was small, we lived in an area of Kansas City that was like a bit of country within the city. We played hide and seek in the cornfield behind our house and caught crawdads in the creek at the bottom of the hill on our dead-end street. And while most children of that time who lived in urban areas attended kindergarten, the children in our neighborhood began formal education in first grade. Romper Room and Captain Kangaroo were our only introductions to ABCs and numbers. For us, sitting still for any length of time only happened in church, and then for only an hour or so. Consequently, our 20-something first grade teacher, Mrs. Sanders, had a daunting task that September. It took a while for her to corral a bunch of gangly 6-year-olds and convince us we were not being punished by having to sit in a chair all day. But eventually, discipline reigned. Like all kids, we enjoyed recess, lunch, and story time. Actual learning, however, was another matter. It simply never occurred to us that our job was anything other than to just be there and be good. Do what the teacher says, and soon enough, it will be time to go out and play. Taking our study seriously wasn't part of our mindset. As it turned out, spelling words were the undoing of our otherwise kind young teacher. Since our entire class was doing poorly in spelling, Mrs. Sanders devised a foolproof plan to encourage us to do well. One day, after a particularly bad batch of spelling tests had been handed in, Mrs. Sanders rose from her chair and solemnly announced, "Anyone who misses even a single word on the next spelling test will get a spanking." I can remember thinking, well, I guess we must do what the teacher says and try harder. It didn't occur to my inexperienced with 6-year-old mind that anything else was required. Spelling test day came a week later with high hopes from Mrs. Sanders. She was sure well-intentioned, although by today's standards misguided, threat would inspire perfect scores from all her young charges. However, after grading the test, crestfallen, but determined, after all, a promise is a promise, she had everyone except Ricky Notch, the only child with a perfect score, line up single file next to her desk. She pulled out the school-issued heavy wooden paddle, scooted her chair back, and had us bend over her lap as she gave us one firm whack each. Red-faced, we shuffled back to our desk, our pride smarting more than our backsides. When everyone was seated, Mrs. Sanders, with silent tears pooling in her eyes, looked at all of us and said, "I'm sorry." Eventually, thanks in part to Mrs. Sanders, I became a good speller and dedicated student earning 2 undergraduate and 1 postgraduate degree. Today, at his request, I tell this story over and over to my 2nd grade grandson. Hearing how Grammy got a spanking for missing her spelling words is both funny and encouraging to a small boy who sometimes struggles with his own spelling words. Looking back, I see that while some things change, others not so much. And I just thought that was a really, really good little story from the good old days, from 1958, back when spankings were allowed in school. I tell you, they were allowed in school when I was a child, too, and we were a lot more respectful and afraid not to be respectful and afraid to act up. We were well-mannered, and because we knew, if not, we was going to get a spanking with the paddle. So kids these days just run over the teachers and pretty much run wild. I have seen them and heard about from my own niece and nephews where the kids just, the teacher tells them to do something, they just tell the teacher off. They'll cuss out the teacher or just mouth her off, fight with her or him, because there's nothing the teacher can do about it. They can't spank them. What are they going to do, expel them from school? Who would care? The kid would not care. They'd be happy if they was expelled from school. So I'm surprised there's even any teachers willing to even teach these days, to tell you the truth, because, I mean, it'll be easier, I think, to control the younger children, like here, the 1st graders and stuff. But once you get into high schoolers and stuff acting like that, I've seen videos on YouTube where people took them with their cell phones of kids getting up and literally fist fighting a teacher because the teacher asked for their cell phone because they were using it in class, and the kid got up and just punched the teacher right in the face for trying to take the cell phone. There's several videos like that on YouTube. Several. And there's also several videos of teachers beating on kids just for any stupid reason. I mean, this one teacher just started smacking this kid around. I forget what he did. He wasn't disrespectful or anything. He must have did something wrong on his paper or something. And that man teacher just went over there and just smacked the crap right out of him. He got, I think he got fired, which he should have been, because that's just ridiculous. I mean, there's a difference between spanking and beating. He was just going over there with his hands, whacking him upside the head and hitting him, just hitting him in the back and everything else. That's beating. That's not going out in the hall or in front of the class and bending over and getting a pat on your butt. That's a spanking. And I think if they still, I really wouldn't want my nieces to know, I wouldn't want my kid to be hit in school. But I wouldn't want my kid to act up like that either. If they acted up like that for a good reason, I would say yes, let them get their butt spanked then. Let the teacher spank their butt, because they need to know they have to respect their teacher and what she says. But, I mean, there's some teachers out there that just bully the kids, too, and like to make them afraid. But a lot of times it's the kids who like to try to get by with stuff because they know they can these days. And just like Sherm said, when he was in school, he got lots of spankings, and then when he got home, he got it again.
Twice as hard.
Twice as hard. Because if you got in trouble with school, then when you got home, you was going to get it also. I never got spanked in school. I was lucky. Sherm got it several times. But there was spanking when I was in school. I've seen kids in my class get spanked. I've been taken out in the hallway and screamed at in my face by this one teacher, Jackson. She was really mean and hateful. All I was doing was, we had a day off, and we was just like getting to sit around and talk, because she didn't have nothing for us to do. It was like the end of the school year, or whatever, and I think her name was Mrs. Rose or Mrs. Atkins, one or the other. I think it was Miss Atkins, Jackson High School. And I was brushing my hair because, I don't know, I was sitting there talking to my friends and I just brushed my hair, you know. And she started screaming at me and took me out in the hallway and started screaming in my face saying, "Do you think you're better than everybody else? Blah, 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 blah. You don't brush your hair in class, blah, blah, blah." I mean, she was screaming in my face so loud that the other teachers in the hallway heard her, came out and looked, and went back in and shut their doors. So I, of course, was just in tears because what did I do? You know, that's why I said some teachers are just downright cruel and like to abuse their authority. Because I had done nothing wrong. We was allowed to sit there and talk. We wasn't doing nothing, so why would I think I would get in trouble for taking out my hairbrush and giving my hair a quick brush before the bell rang? You know? She was very mean. But I was lucky to have a lot of good teachers. Especially at Jackson Elementary. All the teachers were great there. My favorite teacher by far was Miss Weppenberg. She was my kindergarten teacher, and then I had her in 5th grade as well. Good memories from Jackson Elementary. School's not there anymore. They closed it down and tore it down. Abby got to go there a year or two. Jimmy never did. It was tore down. Loved that school. I hated that they closed it and tore it down. So many good memories there. But once I got out of there, Jackson Middle School, Lick Middle School, and Jackson High School, horrible. Horrible. Went to Richmondale for 3 days. It was a pretty good school. Southeastern. Then I went to Benton County from the 10th grade till I graduated. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, I hated school, but out of all the schools I had to go to, Benton County was my favorite because all the teachers were super nice, and the kids were all like, treated you like you were all equal. Because at Jackson, you know, they had their little cliques, and I was made fun of and bullied constantly because I didn't have name brand clothes and because of my weight, and they said I was ugly and everything else. Made fun of my hair, my last name. When I go to Benton County, the cheerleaders will just talk to you like you're one of their friends. At Jackson, that would never happen. And I'm like, aren't you a cheerleader? Why are you trying to talk to me? It's like really weird. And I was like, everybody is so different here. It's wild. I was like actually popular at Benton County, and I like didn't know how to act. It was like a whole different experience than what I was used to. But I was at the old high school at Benton County, so I don't know what the new one's like. But my niece says it's really good, but she's popular anyways. She's outgoing and everything. I was always laid back and shy. But the best school by far that I went to besides Jackson Elementary was Benton County. So that's just my little quick story for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will put the description, the name of the girl who wrote the story in the description box, because I'm not sure if I pronounced her name right. And I haven't looked through the rest of the book yet, or the other one. If I find any more good stories, I will come back to you guys with another video sometime. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Bye guys. God bless.